is Burnes the next guy? Like, is he the most logical step for the Yankees moving forward now?
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I am Stacey Gotsoulias. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. With me, as always, is my producer, Steve Granado. Steve, it's Friday. We made it to a Friday.
We made it to a Friday, and we actually have an episode this Friday. How about that, Stace? Thanks for clicking on the show here today, guys. Like I kind of just alluded to, we did not have a Fanmail Friday last Friday, so we have a backlog of questions from you guys that we need to get to here today. So we're going to spend the entire show doing that here today. We're going to talk about some trade stuff. We're going to talk about some new acquisitions, where they fit in, and a whole bunch of prospect stuff we need to get to here today. Of course, Stacey, our first question coming from our Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. Check the episode description to find out how to join the Insiders Club. More on that later, but let's get to that first one. This is coming from Betty, one of our tried and true, asking us, would a trade package needed to get Corbin Burnes be too costly to the farm system? Thank you, Betty, for being an insider, and thank you for your question here today. Stacey, we know that the Brewers are entertaining the thought of a Corbin Burnes trade, and he's in his final year of team control here. It has been a little bit tenuous in recent history between Corbin Burnes and the Milwaukee Brewers. It has been a bit tenuous between the Milwaukee Brewers owners and the Milwaukee Brewers fan base here in recent history. This notwithstanding, a trade package to get Burnes from the Yankees. We're going to dive into some other trade stuff here today. Given light, Stacey, that the Yankees don't have Yoshinobu Yamamoto, is Burnes the next guy? Like, is he the most logical step for the Yankees moving forward now? Obviously, it costs them more than just the money at this point.
Yeah, I feel like it's between him and someone we're going to talk about in a bit, Dylan Cease. I feel like those are the two that could be a possibility for them in the trade market. I mean, it would be interesting. And as you said, Milwaukee kind of wants to unload not just Burnes. I feel like they were in discussions with or for a bunch of people to kind of like start over again. So
which is weird weird because like they are the central leaders.
Yeah, it is very I thought that was very odd when that came out, during the because that was happening during the playoffs. People were talking about it, and then once the offseason started, and it was like, but why? It's not like you guys finished last in the division, and it wasn't like you guys were so far out that it's just really, I don't know.
Yeah, they made the postseason.
Very strange. Yeah, like just I don't understand what was going on there.
They have guys that are right on the cusp.
Mm-hmm.
They are right there. They're for multiple positions. There are guys in Double and AAA that are anticipated to be there this coming season.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what, at least when I'm looking at the Milwaukee Brewers and thinking Corbin Burnes, yes or no. Look, is 2023, potentially 2024 Corbin Burnes as good as 2021 Corbin Burnes? Probably not, but it still doesn't mean he's not going to add to anybody's rotation. He's very clearly still good, and he's still one of the better pitchers in Major League Baseball. Now, to get to the general question here, is it too costly to the farm system? That's where I think Betty his mind is going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Given where the Yankees are at in their farm system, and given what they have just given up from their farm system, clearly Yamamoto was the smarter path, was the easier path to get the pitching that you needed.
Yeah.
Now you're kind of in scramble mode. And yes, it would cost the Yankees something. Again, is it going to be like Juan Soto? No, it's not going to cost that kind of thing. But it is going to cost something. But what's really weird here, Stacey, is I was looking at their system, of course, and just trying to figure out where they're at as a franchise. And you're looking at it, and they don't really like. You're thinking the best trade chips that the Yankees have and what the Brewers want. It's kind of like MLB ready, right? And the Yankees gave up a lot of MLB ready, or near MLB ready, which is what the Brewers are looking at.
Right.
And the best trade chip they have in that MLB ready camp is Oswald Peraza. And that's not necessarily something the Brewers really need.
Right.
Which is strange. So like, that's why when we were talking about the Soto stuff, we're like, don't even worry about Oswald in this case, because Oswald has nothing to do with this trade. And lo and behold, that didn't even seem to come up even once.
Right.
So it is strange because Burnes appears to be the best pitcher on the trade front right now, but it doesn't feel like it lines up completely. They probably want more pitching back, and they want near MLB ready pitching, and the Yankees are very clearly not ready to give up near MLB ready pitching for a rental.
Right. Yeah.
So the more I look at this, the less likely it seems to me.
Yeah. Like the matchup doesn't work. The matching up of what they need, what we have, and what we can give up, because they've given up so much already.
Yeah. If they were looking for a shortstop ready in 5 years, then yeah, I'll give you Jared Cerna.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the Brewers, who are right on the cusp of opening a big window potentially, with Jackson Chourio leading that class, it doesn't feel like the most natural trade fit here.
Right.
Whereas, yes, the Yankees had to give up a lot for Soto, but it did feel like there was some partnership there.
Yeah.
Here, I don't know. So I don't even know. It would cost a decent chunk. It seems like they want something back in return, obviously, but it also doesn't seem like they have to move him, right? Like, it's not like a must, because they're still going to contend next season. So Corbin Burnes is just going to help in that cause. And they could always, if it's not going right, flip him at the deadline for a less package.
True.
So I don't know. But that kind of leads into our next question, coming here from Ruben Stacey, asking us, do you think the Yankees are a better trade partner with Milwaukee for Corbin Burnes or with the White Sox for Dylan Cease? I kind of already answered that, but it makes way more sense. Oswald Peraza fits in way better in Chicago than he does in Milwaukee, which again is the most lucrative trade piece. Dylan Cease is going to cost a lot less than Corbin Burnes because of how 2023 went. I love Dylan Cease. I've said that 100 times on this show. He's one of my favorite pitchers in all of baseball. But for my money, it feels like it fits a lot more with the White Sox than it does with the Brewers.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been not dreaming of Dylan Cease, but I feel like that would be not a bad plan. Were we joking about plan E after?
Plan E. Well, I mean, when it comes to Dylan Cease pairing with Sam Breen and Matt Blake, that's a pretty quick turnaround from a tough 2023. Dylan Cease has got great stuff, man. And with a good coaching staff behind him, he can immediately turn back into a Cy Young contender.
And also really having the reigning Cy Young winner on the staff with him, because you know how Cole loves talking about pitching too. And he's just like kind of like a pitching savant. So I think that'd be something good for Cease if he were to come over to the Yankees.
Yeah. And it makes more sense from the White Sox perspective. Again, Cease's stock right now isn't as high as it was a year ago, obviously, but still, they're not contending in 2024. They're not winning the AL Central. We 99% know that right now.
Yeah.
And they know that, and they're going through a second rebuild. And that just seems to be like such a smarter pairing, White Sox Yankees than Brewers Yankees right now. It just, the needs fit better in that realm.
Right.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you, Ruben, for your question. We appreciate it. We have to get a couple other ones here from our insiders. This next one's coming from Jay. When do you think Jeter Downs will get to play in the Bronx, and at what position? We kind of touched on this the other day, Stacey, but I don't think you're really seeing Jeter Downs as a major factor in 2024 in the majors.
No, unless something horrible happens. No.
Yeah. Or they traded Oswald Peraza for Dylan Cease.
Now then maybe, yes. Yeah.
But he's not the first call. He's not the first call. You'll see him playing any one of those three infield positions, short, third, or second, in all likelihood. That's where he's played throughout his career. So if you do see him, that's where it'd be. Right now, it's after a couple of injuries. 2-3 injuries at this point on the infield.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Oswaldo Cabrera before it's Jeter Downs. Clearly. Thank you, Jay, for your question. One more here coming from Danny. Why were the Yankees prohibited from deferring some of Aaron Judge's salary, but the Dodgers are allowed to do it? Boy, Danny, that's a great question. Isn't that the question? Yeah,
right.
I saw a lot of people talking about this online, Stacey, about the Aaron Judge side of, okay, maybe I shouldn't say a lot, but I did see some rumblings on Reddit and Twitter, people going like, hey, remember when the Yankees wanted to defer some of Aaron Judge's salary and Major League Baseball reportedly said no, and now Ohtani gets to do it? The reasoning at the time apparently was they were extending the years just to push the salary out. as opposed to with Ohtani. It seems like, this is the contract and they're not trying to push anything. They are going to pay him. It just isn't that. That's the reasoning. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying anything about that. But that's what I've read about it. I don't know, Stacey, quickly, your thoughts on the deferment there. We've kind of touched on it, but when it comes to the Aaron Judge not being allowed to have that happen.
I don't understand any of this stuff. And I also don't understand why more teams don't do deferments if they're allowed to.
Right? Yeah. Like, why not at this point?
Yeah. I mean, if the Dodgers are allowed to do that much, then every other team should be doing the same thing. All the teams that are crying about, we don't have the money to do this stuff. Well, why don't you just kind of defer the payments and not have to worry about it right away and then do it later?
Yeah. It's, for my money, a real big can of worms. Real big can of worms. I don't like the deferment. It
No.
feels icky.
It does. It does. Like that whole thing just felt really, icky's the right word.
Yamamoto not deferred, confirmed. So we know that much.
Yeah.
Yay. Cool. Yeah, and he still has to pay $46 million of the luxury tax to the taxes of that. It's too much, man. It's too much. It's too much. My brain just melts. I try to keep up with this stuff, but it's confusing stuff. Like I feel like, admittedly, on purpose, it's confusing.
Yeah. They kind of don't want us to really know anything.
Yeah. Rich get richer. I hate it. Anyway, these are all our questions from our insiders. We need to step aside, of course. Join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. You get a 14-day free trial in the episode description. You don't only just get Fanmail Friday priority, but you get a whole bunch of really cool other perks, including texting Stacey or texting me one-on-one. Check it out in the episode description. All right, we got a whole bunch more questions, some stuff about prospects, some other trade stuff that's coming up next.
Score this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's an easy $150 if your team wins. If you've considered joining FanDuel, there is no better time to get in on the action, especially with the playoffs coming up. The app is a breeze to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and you can also combine prop bets on a game into a single game parlay for even more fun and more chances to win very big. By the way, the Yankees 2024 World Series odds are plus 850, and they are favored to win the AL at plus 450, and that's without a full starting rotation. So there you go. So visit fanduel.com/lockedon and score big this NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Back now on this Fanmail Friday edition of Locked On Yankees. Hey, don't forget to check out the 24/7 streaming YouTube channel called Locked On Sports Today. You'll occasionally see our show over there, but you'll get a whole bunch of other really cool stuff over there. The 24/7 streaming YouTube channel, Locked On Sports Today. Check it out for the top stories every single day. Stacey, some more questions coming here from our YouTube side now. Of course, if you're new around these parts, you can always click into the comments on our episodes throughout the week and reply to the pinned comment on every YouTube video that says reply here to submit Fanmail Friday questions. So these are our YouTubers now. This is coming from Joe Malone 6. What internal options in the minors, not on the 40-man, do you see as options for starters do you think will have a shot? Thank you, Joe, for your question. I think right now, which you're alluding to, or at least the way I read this question, was starting pitching.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I think that's just top of mind for everything right now.
Yeah.
Clearly, Clayton Bieber is the 40-man guy. That is like the first call. But we've been talking a lot about Will Warren here this offseason, especially since these trades. He seems to be the first call outside of the 40-man roster right now. And another guy that we've slightly talked about a little bit is Sean Boyle. Sean Boyle's been in AAA now for about 2 full seasons, roughly. He made like a spot start at the end of 2021, or a couple of spot starts after 2020 at the end of 2021. Started in AA in 2022, got called up, spent the latter half of the season there. He's also dealt with some injuries and was on the roster all last year with the Rail Riders. So Sean Boyle figures to be potentially in the mix as a non-40 option just by longevity. Of course, a guy that is no longer in the system but got picked up in the Rule 5 was Mitch Spence. He kind of had a slight edge. I mean, a very slight edge on Sean Boyle. You can kind of think of Sean Boyle and Mitch Spence as the Randy Vasquez and Johnny Burritos of AAA. Kind of in that same, they're fairly similar guys at the same level. But Mitch Spence is now in the Tampa Bay Rays system. So that's right. No, Oakland.
Oh yeah. Right.
It was Oakland. Yeah. He was the first pick in the Rule 5. So
right.
That's why it's now Sean Boyle that seems to figure into that mix. Of course, this is all without the minor league signings factoring in that we know of, that we don't already know of, like guys that are going to be coming here in January. I still anticipate a couple of more signings here in January. Those spring training invite guys and like things like that. You're going to still see those. The guys coming from Mexico, the guys coming from Japan, those guys. We're still waiting on those. We're still needing another Ryan Weber.
Yeah.
But as far as starting pitchers, it's Will Warren and Sean Boyle in my head for sure. Thank you, Joe, for your question. This next one's coming from Jorge Barrera 2609 asking us, why don't you guys honestly think the New York Yankees can't do a full-scale rebuild like so many other teams? I enjoy the show and hope you guys feel better. Thank you, Jorge. Yes, I'm still sick. Stacey, it sounds like you're a little less sick than I am here at this point. But Stacey, this is all your thing. Like, I think the Yankees should not be afraid of rebuilds ever. But you've been the one that is adamant that the Yankees will never do a rebuild. And I'm curious if you can kind of dive into your thought process when it comes to that.
My thought process when it comes to a rebuild is the only reason that the rebuild happened in the beginning of the 90s was because George was suspended and he had no power over the team. And Michael was able to do what he was able to do with the farm system. If George Steinbrenner were never suspended from baseball history would have been altered completely. There would be no dynasty. Derek Jeter might not even have been drafted by the Yankees. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff that could have not happened because of that. And I feel like they still have this mentality that they're the Yankees and they can't do a full-scale rebuild. People always joke about, 2013 and 14 were a rebuild. No, they weren't. The Yankees were still over 500. They were still almost in the playoff race until like September, and then they kind of petered out. I picture a full rebuild as the early 90s when they were like 72 and 90 and awful and, way the hell back in last place and just terrible. And, guys that you don't even remember playing for them. That's never going to happen again. Not with Cashman as GM, not with a Steinbrenner at the helm. It's just not going to happen. Would it help? Sure. Not now because it's Aaron Judge's, prime and, Garrett Cole's prime there. So it's too late for it. If they wanted to do it, it would have happened in those years, 2013, 14. Like that would have been a true rebuild and the perfect time to do it. And they didn't do it. It's never going to happen.
Yeah. Interesting. For my money, I think that's stupid.
Yeah.
Just throw that out there. Not that we've touched on the rebuild stuff and we actually did an episode on that fairly recently. Within the last couple of months, we did a whole episode dedicated to is the rebuild smart or not? And sorry if I don't remember the exact details of everything I said there, but I still think rebuilds are a smart thing. But I also feel like rebuilds don't have to be this big, scary, big bad thing too. It doesn't have to be this tear it down and start from scratch thing. Could be retooling. There's a whole spectrum of what a rebuild is. If you're interested in that, just search Yankees rebuild Locked On Yankees. You'll find it. It's in there. But thank you, Jorge, for your question. All right, Stacey, a couple more here today. This one's coming from Liam McGough 9969. Do you guys think the Guardians would be willing to trade Shane Bieber since he only has 1 year left on his contract? Thank you, Liam. Yeah, they have come out and said that that they are interested in moving Shane Bieber. Obviously, there are some qualms when it comes to Shane Bieber. Is he the Shane Bieber of old? Kind of in the Corbin Burnes, Dylan Cease camp, kind of the same guy. Yeah. Former Cy Young winners who haven't pitched lights out here in recent memory. The fastball velocity being down for Shane Bieber is obvious. But clearly, Stace, maybe not clearly. Maybe the only thing that's clear is the Guardians are confusing.
Yes.
That's probably the only
really
thing that's
are.
clear. Like what is going on in Cleveland? I don't really know. They have a whole new coaching staff, as we know. They're moving out of the Francona era and now into the Stephen Vogt era, which is still going to take some getting used to.
Yeah.
But The Guardians confused me, man, because they got pieces. They seem to always develop pitching. I've been confused ever since they traded Francisco Lindor.
Yes. That was a very odd move because it felt like they were going in the right direction. And I don't know. Some teams are just confounding, aren't they? Like, we were just talking about Milwaukee kind of being confusing there too. And Cleveland's right up there.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, as far as your question is concerned, yes, they are at least shopping him. I don't know how big that return is, considering the fastball velocity dip is definitely never helps anything ever.
No.
Whenever you see that number go down, everyone always gets scared of that, understandably, because
I mean, especially now because everyone's throwing 100. So if you're only throwing, if you're only throwing like 92, 93, 94, like even 94 seems slow, which is crazy to think about.
It's because Ben Joyce is throwing like 104.
Yeah, because like 30 years ago, if you were throwing 94, you were like, whoa. And it's just so incredible that we're going to be seeing guys, like you just said, 104. You're going to see guys hitting 105 now. And it's like,
yeah, that's not too far off.
No,
we are getting to the point where we're reaching the limits of physical human capabilities.
Yeah. I had asked David Cohn about that on the show a couple of years ago. I said, how soon do you think we'll be seeing, do you think you'll be seeing guys hit 105? He's like, oh yeah, within like 5 years. And that was
we're
almost 3 years ago. So
literally Ben Joyce hit like 104 at Tennessee.
That's crazy.
It was like the fastest pitch recorded in NCAA history, right? It was like 104 point something or 103.7 or something ridiculous like that. It's like, we're hitting radio stations.
Yes. High fevers.
We're hitting high fevers. Crazy. But yeah, as far as Shane Bieber is concerned, yeah, they're definitely shopping him. If that's smart, I don't know. What the return is for that, I don't know. He doesn't seem to be one of the premier guys on the market right now. Again, it's like Corbin Burnes, Dylan Cease, Shane Bieber below that kind of run of guys right now, at least of the names that have been floating. But thank you, Liam, for your question. We still have 3 more we need to get to here. Talk a little bit about Spencer Jones. We need to talk about some of the new acquisitions, and we'll finish up some thoughts on Yoshinobu Yamamoto. That's coming up next. Back now on Locked On Yankees, our final segment here today. Stacey, we got a couple of newcomers. Here today. At least names that I haven't seen before. This next question coming from our YouTube community at Sunny Blaze, asking us, unless they use him in a trade for a pitcher, where does Spencer Jones fit in? He's probably a year away, but with Soto, Dominguez, Judge being the starting outfield, hopefully for the foreseeable future, would they move him to first base? Thank you, Sunny, for your question. Couple thoughts here. Your question is predicated on Spencer Jones being a year away. Spencer Jones is not a year away. Yeah, Spencer Jones is like 3 years away.
Yeah.
Got to give it some time. He's in all likelihood starting in AA next season. I mean, maybe starts in AAA. I mean, maybe. He had a nice little end to the season, but like he needs to start in AA. Yeah. So let's start there. He needs a good couple of months. Like don't think Spencer Jones is Jason Dominguez going to fly here, and even Jason Dominguez doesn't figure to be super ready for 2024 on a full capacity. Like you're pushing really hard here. Gotta let these guys cook, right? Gotta let them cook a little bit longer. So that's where your question starts with Spencer Jones is ready next season or a year away. That of course throws your timeline off, right? Because Soto is only guaranteed 2024. So that also predicates that Soto returns in 2025 and beyond, which don't start there. You can't start with what you don't know you have. The other part of your question is figuring by the time Jones gets to the majors that they're going to want Aaron Judge still in the outfield.
Right, because by that time, Judge is going to be close to 34, 35. So, I don't think they're going to want,
They're trying to push him into a DH role in all likelihood by then.
Yeah, at that point, because we don't know, these big guys are new. Like the big guys who aren't pitchers are new to baseball, playing positions like that. And you don't know what's going to happen to his body in 3 years after playing as hard as he's played for his whole career. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I like the idea of moving under first base just because of projectability. His
Mm.
body, like Spencer Jones's body, just breeds first base, right? It just makes the most sense in the world.
Even
when
at
you just
6'7", at that
well,
tall?
just look, and that's what I mean. Like just a tall dude,
Just like, ooh.
lanky. Yeah, it makes you look at him knowing absolutely nothing else about him. You're going, oh, that guy plays basketball, or he's a first baseman.
Mm.
That's it. Or he plays collegiate volleyball. You know, like that. That's when you look at Spencer Jones. That's what it looks like.
Mhm.
So I don't think that that's not on the table at any
Mm.
point. You might see Austin Wells move there first.
Yeah.
Also, obviously, Wells is a lot closer than Spencer Jones is. So there are a lot of ifs, this, then that's in your
Yeah.
question here. So I don't think the plan right now is to move Spencer Jones away from the outfield. That doesn't feel super likely until you start seeing these things kind of move in place. If they get Soto back, okay, now we start thinking about that conversation. Where does Wells fit into this when it comes to behind the plate? And clearly they're going to need a first baseman for 2025 if it's not going to be DJ. Right.
Right.
So layers to it. You're too far ahead. Let him cook. Let him cook. Let him cook. But thank you for your question. Thanks for joining us, the Fanmail Friday family. I really appreciate it, man. You're brand new, so it's super cool. And another new one, I believe, I haven't noticed this name before. This is coming from Guevara Garden, asking us, do you think that acquiring Cody Morris is going to translate into him becoming part of the rotation and not just a bullpen piece? If so, what does that say for getting another arm in the rotation? Thank you, Guevara Garden, for your question. Cody Morris, Stacey, we talked about it the other day, but has played both, right? He is relieved and has started. He doesn't have a ton of major league time. I don't think they're thinking of Cody Morris as a starter right now.
No, I don't think so either. I think it would be one of those like worst case scenario things, kind of like last year. If like 3/5 of the rotation is out, oh, here's a guy who has started before. Maybe we can slot him in as the number 5 kind of thing. Like, I feel like that's the only way it would happen.
Yeah, I think the Cody Morris addition, well, it was one because you were going to lose flow anyway.
Right.
But Cody Morris was more like, hey, we got a guy with some major league experience here that we know we can put into the bullpen and he'll be comfortable there.
Yeah.
But if we need a spot start, he's maybe one of the first calls, maybe not the first call, but one of the first calls.
Yeah.
Again, because he has that major league experience, he has a little bit of playoff experience as well. So like there's something there. I think of Cody Morris as maybe a lesser Ryan Weber. Way less experience,
right,
as Ryan Weber, but maybe potentially used in a similar capacity. Maybe a long man, kind of a Swiss Army knife out of the pen. I don't know what his option status is. I gotta imagine he has some options left, so he could probably, don't quote me on this, but in all likelihood be in AAA too. If things work out a different way where they can move him down, call someone up, give it 2 weeks, and then make the swap again. Like as long as he has options there, as far as I know, he should. That feels kind of more where Cody Morris is going to be lining up. Kind of to your point, though, a little bit of doomsday there. It's like, wow, nothing else went right. Cody Morris, you got to start every 5 days. So thank you for your question, man. I think that's where he fits right now. With nothing else being done and no injuries. It's always going to be changing there if those happen. Our last question of the day here, Stacey, comes from one of our other tried and true YouTubers, coming from Vincent M. Durham 1695. Do you think the rumors about the Yankees being favorites to sign Yoshinobu Yamamoto were overblown? Keep up the great work, Stacey and Steve. Stace, do you think they were overblown?
Yes. If you're not watching, I'm nodding my head, and I've been nodding my head since halfway through the reading of the question. Yes, I think they were overblown.
Why? Why do you think that?
I don't know. It was annoying me. Like, the whole thing was annoying me because I was seeing so many Yankee fans being fooled into thinking that they were going to get him. And all along I was like, he's probably going to the Dodgers.
I don't think they were overblown.
Really? You really think the Yankees were the
Yankees finished in the top 3?
Well, that's true, but I don't know.
And it really, like, let's be real, probably finished second.
Yeah.
They probably just lost out to the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So that's pretty favorite.
True. But it was like everyone was coming out, though. Like, Heyman was saying it, and Nightingale was saying it, and who else was saying it? And it was just like,
I mean, it was pretty clear that the Yankees made a serious run at him. They
Oh,
made a
yeah.
competitive offer.
Yeah.
They gave him a freaking jersey. They held the number. Like, they did the whole thing. They did the whole thing. I think they were one of the favorites, dude. Like, I don't know. Just because they didn't land him, I don't think that means they weren't one of the favorites.
Oh, no. I mean, I think they were one of the favorites, but I don't think they were the favorites.
I think, you know what? They probably were the favorite before Shohei signed.
Yeah, I think Shohei probably changed everything.
Yeah, because he was obviously a big part of it. They're already hanging out.
Yeah.
Before Shohei, I bet you they were the favorite.
God.
And Shohei changed that.
Gosh,
because Shohei does that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything more the Yankees really could have done. I'm not going to lie to you. From everything I've read about it and everything I've learned about it, I'm not faulting the Yankees for not getting Yamamoto. It feels like they legitimately, genuinely tried, and he picked somebody else.
Yeah.
It happens, dude.
Yeah.
It sucks. Doesn't make it hurt any less.
Like I said the other day, people are making it out to seem like the Yankees only offered him like 5 years. And, they didn't offer him this and that. It's like they offered him a lot of money and a lot of time. And, this wasn't a contract to sneeze at. It's like, since when did $300 million become a number that people are like poo-pooing? That's how crazy things are, Like, oh my God, between like you had talked about it with the pitching. We're going to see guys throwing 105. We're going to regularly see, because I feel like this is going to happen, because you were joking about the tall dudes. We're going to see regular infields in about maybe 20 years of guys who are like 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". It's going to be like the giant baseball players in that Bugs Bunny cartoon. All teams are going to start looking like that in like 20 to 30 years. It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be wild.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm still around to see it, and hopefully I don't still have this freaking cough.
I know, my God.
In 20 to 30 years, because I'm still coughing up a lung. I'm driving myself crazy. Thank you, Vincent, for your question. Thank you all for your questions here today. Again, for my money, I think they were, if not the favorite, the second favorite.
Sure. I'll agree with that.
That's just where I'm at. I don't think there's anything they did wrong. They just got beat.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it goes, bro. That's how it goes. It's baseball. Again, thank you all for your questions here today, guys. We really appreciate them. And sorry we missed last Friday. Clearly, we're okay enough to get through one of these episodes, which we did here today. Of course, we'll be returning again on Monday, back to our regular schedule, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, moving forward. Of course, the YouTube channel is going to be the place to go if you're ever looking for breaking news stuff, which we are still back on and still ready to go as we gear into January. Stace, our next episode will be talking in the new year.
Oh my goodness, 2024. What's happening in 2024? Oh,
the Yankees are winning the World Series. That's what's happening in 2024.
That would be a great 50th birthday present for me. So if the Yankees could do that, I'd appreciate it.
Well, there you go. And that's going to do it for our last episode of 2023. I'm Steve Renato.
And I'm Stacey Gatsoulias. We will see you next year.